One final full day of the NBA All-Star break. Tomorrow we are back in action with one game, a rescheduled game in Los Angeles between the Lakers and the Hornets. So DRS, here we are at the All-Star break in full for one final time. It gives us a chance to reset and look at those big questions all around the association for this stretch run and beyond. Of course, a ton of conversation yesterday, today, this week in the immediate aftermath of All-Star Weekend and the change in format that we saw on All-Star Sunday night. Not just an All-Star game, but All-Star games. The product itself, not overly exciting. Those TV viewership numbers should be coming out shortly, and that will be a serious indication as well. But a big report yesterday, DRS, from Ryan Glass-Steagall of Front Office Sports on some potential changes ahead for All-Star Weekend starting next year in 2026. It should be noted when NBA takes over the television broadcast in production for All-Star Weekend, which has basically been on TNT for a very long time. Some proposed potential changes in earlier start time. 5 p.m. Eastern time for the All-Star game, tipped off this previous Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. A complete change in format. A $1 million prize for a one-on-one tournament and a guarantee, perhaps, of big names in the dunk contest. As we play buy or sell, DRS, those are the proposed changes that inform this conversation. In the buy or sell to you, NBA All-Star Weekend is unfixable.
I sell that because it's an easy sport to fix. But let's go over the layers here because I do like where some of these ideas are coming from. And I do feel, Ben, at times I am Nostradamus of sports. This is why I do. Like, people think I joke around saying I want to be commissioner of every league. Ben, since you have known me here on this sports network, what do I scream at? Put the games on when every single person in the country can watch them and watch the ratings rise. Simple. 5 o'clock start time. How come when everybody was watching the All-Star games in the 80s and early 90s, Ben, it was an afternoon on a Sunday, even if it was out in Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, wherever at this point? It only makes sense. Why are you starting something at 8 o'clock when you want to grow this? Oh, but the West Coast, 5 p.m. start. Nonsense. More people live on the East Coast and Central Time than the rest of the country. So if you put it on at 5, every single person in the country, if they want to watch, can watch it. Point number 2 here, $1 million in a one-on-one tournament. We don't need that. Throw that right out the window here, unless you're putting $100 million. Or how about this? The winner of it gets the guaranteed max contract extension in the NBA. Then you'll watch everybody come out of the woodwork and play in the one-on-one tournament. The final piece there, big names in the dunk contest. Isn't that easy? Just put the best players in there. Like if you have 24 All-Stars, put all 24 in the dunk competition. If they don't want to participate there, they don't come here. It is an easy fix. And Ben, we're not talking about supremacy of everybody's going to watch even more than the NBA Finals. Just make us want to sit down and say, you know what? What are you doing tonight? I want to watch the All-Star game. Superstars playing hard in a semi-pickup game. We can all get down and just enjoy that for at least a few hours. It's easily fixable.
So I actually sell the notion that buy the notion that NBA All-Star Weekend is unfixable. I just think we are lost the plot. I don't think we're all that close to fixing All-Star games. I think we are trying. I think it is a media conversation. I think we sit here and have these sweeping takeaways. But I don't really think it needs to be fixed. I think All-Star games in this current format should just be a glorified pickup game. If you are going to say a one-on-one tournament is the fix to NBA All-Star Sunday night, I am going to argue that is no longer an All-Star game. That is its own thing in its entirety. And Donnie, we had some NBA players asked about, hey, would you be interested in a one-on-one tourney? Would you play? Anthony Edwards? Oh, for sure. I'd go out there and whoop some you-know-what. Giannis? Yeah, I would love to play in a one-on-one tournament. Donovan Mitchell basically said, I would do it. I think it's cool. I'm not sure everybody would be bought in to this idea. Of course, this follows what Unrivaled has done in their one-on-one tournament that has been exciting basketball that NBA players have vouched for and have enjoyed watching. It's a very different thing to say, hey, that's cool, and hey, yeah, I'll play and risk my reputation as one of the best hoopers in this league as I get cooked by a second-year player and a first-year All-Star. So, Donnie, to me, again, NBA All-Star Weekend is unfixable because we are getting further and further away from an All-Star game. A television production, All-Star games, and now a one-on-one tournament for $1 million prize. That's not an All-Star game. That's not All-Star Weekend to me. Yeah, big names in the dunk contest. We have heard that for 25 years, and it hasn't happened. So I don't believe it's going to happen. I buy the idea that NBA All-Star Weekend is unfixable, but I say that with a caveat that although it might be unfixable, that's okay. We can just try to enjoy the product that we have if we stop trying to make it this gimmicky, weird thing for casual fans that don't even tune in to watch in the first place.
Yeah, but also you have to understand that one-on-one competition is also with the All-Star game. So that'd be like the NBA Saturday night per se with the dunk competition, one-on-one competition, and three-point contest. Well, that's how it's listed, like potential changes. 5 p.m. start for the All-Star game, then one-on-one tournament and big names in the dunk contest. So I took it as a whole, like that was some of the ideas they're looking to fix the weekend, as that's just part of that. Yeah, no. They take away the All-Star game, put a one-on-one. Like I'm actually going to fly out to the game to protest why the games actually happen at that point. Yeah. So I just thought that was like an extra layer of sort of like, okay, maybe more people will tune in. I have no interest in a one-on-one tournament, to be honest, unless it is for a super max contract that a rookie might be able to get. Like Mac McClung wins the thing, gets a super max contract. Now, come on, man, who's going to take that up? Like you have to like roll the dice or pick out of a hat. Like, congratulations, Spurs, you're paying Mac McClung $400 million over the next 6 years. Like that would be hilarious.
So I was locked out of the article, needing a login to read it in its entirety. I thought that was the proposed change to make a $1 million one-on-one tournament in lieu of the 3 games that we saw this year. Yeah. Still believe it's unfixable. All-Star Weekend, at least to our expectations of what it used to be. However, now that I know there will be an All-Star game as well, and not in lieu of the All-Star game, a $1 million one-on-one tournament, there is zero chance that one-on-one tourney is going to happen. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Not happening throughout All-Star Weekend, with the risk of extra playing, the risk of having to be out there and competitive while everybody else is sitting out, and you're not going to get the biggest superstars in the world in that tournament. I don't know, Donnie. For me, I basically fall here, right, in kind of the conversation that we had yesterday. We got so mad at things in years past. Oh, these guys aren't playing. All right, let's make it an Elam ending to at least make the fourth quarter competitive. Well, that's stupid. None of us can do math. All right, then let's just go back to a pickup and we'll have captain's draft, and maybe the guys will be more bought in from that. Oh, it didn't matter? Okay, let's go back to East and West. It's just glorified pickup. It's layup lines. It's dumb. All right, let's try to make it incentivized in a race for 40. Why is Kevin Hart on the floor? We are trying to make all of these changes to something that should have just been fun and appreciate it for what it is, and understanding that unlike the 1980s, we can see every one of these guys instantaneously each and every night they play in an NBA game.
Like the fans didn't ruin it. The NBA itself didn't ruin it. You know, the commercials didn't ruin it because they've always been there. The players actually ruined it. They let you know how this game is like, you know what? I just want to go out there and party, pop bottles, VIP for the weekend, mess around and just get home, and then take an extra 3 to 4 days to go to Cancun before the season actually begins. We would never have any issues here. Nobody would care if they just somewhat cared about an NBA All-Star game. And we're okay, Ben. 169 to 158 is the final. That's fun. They played a little bit of defense, a lot of showcase. But when you're scoring a couple hundred points, that's ridiculous, man. It is.
Completely agree. More big picture questions around the NBA as Buy or Sell continues next. Buy or Sell around the association on the final full day of the All-Star break. Back in action with actual NBA regular season games tomorrow. Just one. That would be the Lakers and the Hornets before most of the league gets underway on Thursday evening. In DRS, starting this home stretch of the NBA campaign, everybody out west looking up at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Everybody out east looking up at the Cleveland Cavaliers, and everybody else except for the Boston Celtics, looking up at the C's, the reigning NBA champs, in the 2 spots in the Eastern Conference standings. Right now, where things stand in the odds board, everybody looking up at the Thunder in the Western Conference, and in the Eastern Conference, it's still the Celtics as a minus money favorite. We have now at the All-Star break, as the markets have reset, and maybe some more investment for this stretch run when we return from the All-Star break, some more wagers into the Celtics and the Thunder. Odds-on favorites in minus money to win their respective conference crown. For the Celtics to see the Thunder in the NBA Finals, of course, that's the most likely matchup and the shortest price at plus 220. So, Donnie, buy or sell? The NBA Finals matchup will indeed be the Celtics versus the Thunder.
I'm selling it because we're still too early to determine who's going to be the best team by the time we have, late May and the finals start to begin in early June. So for me, I will sell it. Now, that doesn't say that the Boston Celtics, I don't think, are going to get to the finals, or Oklahoma City. Because if you're just saying right now, and the question is asking, the 2 best teams in the NBA, forget about record-wise, you probably just go pedigree, would be these 2 teams, and they should match up in the final. But as we said, nothing is a given here, which includes the Boston Celtics probably not being the number 1 overall seed in the Eastern Conference. Why? They're 5.5 games back against a quality Cleveland Cavaliers team. So then Boston will have to go on the road, at least, let's just say, for the Eastern Conference Finals to make it to the NBA Finals. Then you're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I love, are fantastic. And yes, right now, far and away, Ben, the best team in the Western Conference. But you are also mixing in teams like the Denver Nuggets, the Los Angeles Lakers, the LA Clippers. And you might say, wait a minute, where's the pedigree on those teams? What I'm saying is Oklahoma City is not like, hey, they're the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL. Every year they play in the Western Conference Finals and get to the finals here. They haven't done that yet. So until they get to that mountaintop, there's still going to be questions that need to be asked. It's easy to say both of these teams will make it, but I'm going to sell that. Still too much basketball game left to play, and a lot of other teams are going to factor in here.
I'm going to sell it as well, but ever so slightly. Because I think you could give me a couple of bets, a make or miss, or this team versus the field, Donnie, and I would actually take one option. What I mean by that is, if you were to give me a bet, will the Celtics and or the Thunder, at least one of those 2 teams, reach the NBA Championship Series? I would say yes. I would take that bet. One or the other, potentially both. But if you were to say the field versus this matchup, I would probably also take the field. So I think one of these 2 teams for sure into the NBA Finals, but I'm going to sell this notion right now because that was not the question that was asked. It was Boston versus Oklahoma City in the NBA Finals. Donnie, I think it is more likely that Boston is the one of these 2 teams into the NBA Finals than I do Oklahoma City. The Thunder are a very promising team. We have expected to see their year-over-year improvement over the past 2 to 3 seasons. And OKC has delivered exactly on that. Last year, losing in the second round of the Western Conference postseason to Dallas in 6 games, learning, you would think, from their postseason lumps. But now we have to see it. We don't have to see it with the Celtics, the reigning NBA champs, and a team that factored in to the Eastern Conference Finals a ton in the last half-decade. And to your point about playoff pedigree, there are a few other teams in the Western Conference. The Nuggets, certainly LeBron and the Lakers, and now adding Luka Doncic, and a couple others that I think could stand in the way of Oklahoma City at the end. Not like the Thunder getting upset in the opening round, and I still probably take OKC to play in the Western Conference Finals with home floor advantage, but at the end, maybe that's what knocks the Thunder off its perch. Donnie, I really do believe that until proven otherwise, I've got to see somebody really challenge the Celtics in the Eastern Conference come playoff time. You are right. It would be different this year for Boston to be on the road in Cleveland, perhaps, in an Eastern Conference Finals matchup. And although we still have the entirety of this stretch run, about 25 games or so after the All-Star break, it's a 5.5 game advantage. That's a lot of ground for the C's to make up, that the Cavaliers would really have to stumble down this stretch to even allow the C's to sniff that number 1 overall seed. I still think Boston is going to win the Eastern Conference Finals, and it's not just me saying that. You can see the price at minus 140.
Yeah, and that's the pedigree they have. Just won it last year, and let's just say they do come in healthy into the playoff run. It's not as if, like, hey, you can get away in a short series, Ben, beat them best of 3, best of 5. You're going to beat the Celtics in a best of 7. And yes, even though if it is in Cleveland, it's still a monumental task for Cleveland to do that. But I do think they have the weapons and the pedigree to do that. But it is tougher than where we see in college football, professional football. Hey, just got to beat them and bring your best on Sunday. Anything can happen. Well, not really anything can happen in a 7-game series. The winner of that 7-game series is fairly like, oh, man, Ben, they got lucky to win that 7-game series. No, they didn't. Outside of catastrophic injury, you beat a team 4 times in 7 games. You deserve to move on, and that's not a fluke at all. A 1-game series, 3-game series absolutely could be. The question's there for Oklahoma City. Like, who would actually challenge them? Like, for me, probably the Denver Nuggets. If the Nuggets can get them an elevation, championship pedigree on that team, maybe the best players on the planet going toe-to-toe. But for me, I look at the Boston Celtics. Yeah, you're going to have to go through the Cavaliers, which would be tough. Also the New York Knicks. And who's to say that once you get to the playoffs with a healthy Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks, I just think that path to victory for Boston is a little bit tougher. But I do agree, if you're just saying Boston's been there, done that, depth, and they should be able to get by, yes, we should think that they're the 2 best teams, talking about the Thunder and the Boston Celtics. But for me, I'm just going to sell that notion because there's quality teams. A lot can happen, which includes injuries. I'll stay away from those 2 teams just at this point right now.
Again, I'm selling that NBA Finals matchup ever so slightly as well. I would be surprised if neither of those 2 clubs made it to the NBA Championship Series. But I don't know necessarily if that is going to be our exact matchup, despite what the odds makers are saying. Plus 220 for that to be the exact NBA Finals matchup before we emerge out of the All-Star break is insane. That we have 2 minus money odds on favorites to win their respective conferences at this moment. Let's talk the head-to-head NBA MVP race between Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic next. Is the NBA MVP race all but over for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander? It's what we discussed on this final full day of the NBA All-Star break here in NBA Buy or Sell. We are going to chart the MVP odds throughout this regular season so far. October 22nd on opening night. Luka Doncic, actually the favorite at plus 330, but SGA not far behind. Nikola Jokic, third best number after winning 3 MVP awards in the last 4 seasons. On Christmas, it was Jokic, the short favorite, about $1 in front of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Middle of January, for the first time, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander becomes a minus money odds on favorite to win the NBA MVP hardware. And today is February 18th. At the All-Star break, DRS, SGA minus 440 to win the NBA MVP award. Nikola Jokic, second best price at plus 300. So buy or sell to you. Nikola Jokic will become the MVP favorite again at some point in this season.
You know what? I'm going to buy this. And I do think sometimes the human element does creep in. The problem is we give it to Jokic so many times, he has to average 40, 20, and 20 to even get back in the picture. When SGA has been on the cusp of an MVP, specifically last year, he's playing well. His team by far is the best team in the Western Conference. So he probably should win MVP just under the criteria of Oklahoma City never gets to the finals. He played at an MVP level last year. Now the team's actually proving it on the court with his play as well. So it goes hand in hand. But I always like to get back to the points, Ben, where you just throw up those, mirror images and silhouettes of player A versus player B, and you just vote that way. Forget about what the team is actually doing. What is the player actually doing in the moment? And if you go side by side, 30 points to 32 points. So it's like, okay, that's close here. Then 13 rebounds to 5 rebounds, not close. 10 assists to 6 assists, not close. Steals per game, almost identical. You get the point. So, well, the better player is Nikola Jokic just based on his numbers. But again, it's the human element. It's not an algorithm that goes in that goes, you know what? We're going to feed this through like the BCS pen, and the best numbers come out in the end. There's no humans that are going to pick or vote on this because we know how it works. Jokic has a couple. This could be SGA's best chance. Good team here. Let's just give it to him. But I do think there's going to be times in this season where, yes, SGA puts up eye-popping numbers. He's done that for pretty much the entire season. But you are going to get a couple of these Jokic games, Ben, that we're going to come on the early line and be like, now, wait a second. 36 points, 28 rebounds, and 19 assists, which all you know is those games catapult your odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook in your direction. So I'm going to go on the limb. I'm going to say yes. At one point, Jokic is going to cross over on SGA to keep this thing interesting on the way out before the votes come in.
Nikola Jokic, who has won 3 NBA MVP awards in the last 4 years, is putting up numbers consistent, if not better, than what he has during those MVP winning seasons. He is top 4 in all the main stat categories around the NBA. Points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game. He is basically Nikola Jokic, averaging a 30-point, 12.5 rebound, 10 assist, triple-double throughout this season. And yet, Donnie, you see that gap in terms of the MVP odds. It is not fair. Believe me, I do not believe it is fair. But that has become expectation for Nikola Jokic. If he doesn't have a triple-double, it is more noteworthy than Nikola Jokic recording a triple-double in any given NBA game. So, Donnie, I'm going to sell that Nikola Jokic will become the NBA MVP favorite at a certain point to end out this regular season. I believe Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has won this award. I believe Shea Gilgeous-Alexander will remain a minus money favorite through the entirety of this NBA year, barring, obviously, injury, and knock on wood, that doesn't happen for SGA, who is leading the NBA in scoring, 32.5 points per game this year, about 6 dimes and 5 boards per game, second in the NBA in steals per game as well, just shy of 2 thefts each and every night. And outside of that, Donnie, outside of just the statistical numbers between these two individuals, it is also team success. This is what we expected out of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, to lead this young OKC team to be one of the best in the NBA. They are far and away the best in the Western Conference, an 8-game lead right now for that number 1 overall seed, and more than likely going to end as the 1 seed when the regular season is through. In my estimation, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has already won the NBA MVP award.
Yeah, and again, it's an argument that I'm probably going to lose if I say they're going to cross over, because he is a heavy favorite. It's not like we're both looking at plus 100.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Number 2 on this is you do have that ace in the hole where OKC, like, what would they have to do to sort of damage SGA's season? Lose 10 in a row and all of a sudden the Grizzlies are the 1 seed or the Nuggets overtake them? It's not as if the Nuggets are 3.5 games back of the Oklahoma City Thunder and say, you know what, that's the crossover point. Great play can go into that. So probably going to happen that way where SGA takes it.